frameworks, and then Agile Manifesto was finally rolled, and that's how we know Agile as of today. So from this Agile Manifesto until the time when Disciplined Agile was born, so how it was created, what was the genesis of Disciplined Agile, what exactly it does, and how it relates to the other agile prescriptions which are available in the market. Now, what is disciplined agile? We see we have. Um, I'll take an analogy of a big navy ship. There's a term called as hard turn when a navy ship encounters an obstacle in term some waves or some obstacle from an enemy perspective. So it is able to do a hard turn quickly in an agile manner and steer according to where it wants to go and where it wants to maneuver. But small organizations like small boats might be able to do it on their own without making a hard turn. So why are you using this analogy? Because business today is also very disruptive. Um, the higher the speed and of the boat, the smaller will be the maneuver. So if you see the size of the ship is like size of an organization. We see big organizations, and the speed is the industry clock speed. The way the industry dynamics appear every now and then. There's lots of disruptions. We see the engines, the power, and the rudder are the organizational capability to quickly and effectively change the strategy. Now, when we say strategy, we have always known that strategies are formulated for a period of time, 4 years, 5 years, or uh, in some lean organizations, 2 or 3 years. And then there are small organizations which encounter a lot of disruption, and they might be able to change strategy, but again there's an increasingly
Sorry,
complex and costly.
Mr. Abdul, sorry to cut you short. Are
Yeah,
you sharing your screen? You're not
yeah.
your screen?
My screen is not visible.
No, no.
1 second. Okay, is it okay now?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for this, I had pulled it out. Okay, now we were talking about an analogy of a ship. Now in smaller organizations, it is easy to maneuver around strategy, change strategy, be agile. But again, uh, the environment, which is fast changing, very complex. So there's a term called as VUCA. And VUCA, in the context of VUCA, where V stands for volatility, U uncertainty, C complexity, and A ambiguity. Despite the fact organizations are small, again, they have challenges to change midstream any of the options they want to do. This is exactly what I want to emphasize upon. When using an agile prescriptive methodology like Scrum and SAFe and other methodologies which are very prescriptive in nature, if an organization hits a roadblock, it's very difficult to manage. It becomes unyieldy. Here's where disciplined agile comes in. It leverages the existing prescription which is there in the organization. It helps you in a disciplined manner to create your way of working, which we call as WoW. And we will see how this is done. Um, this is Mobeen Khan from UAE. I have been in UAE for 20 years. I'm a project management practitioner, and my journey in Agile has been for the last 3 or 4 years. And I've recently embarked on Disciplined Agile, and I am a Disciplined Agile Senior Scrum Master. And I have really been very lucky in getting onboarded earlier on because that time it was not that difficult to get on board and get these certifications. What is disciplined agile? Disciplined agile is a toolkit. We have to always remind ourselves it's not a prescription. It's a process driven toolkit that provides straightforward guidance to help people, to help teams and organizations to streamline their processes. And when we say streamline their processes, it has always to be in a context sensitive manner. So we ought to know what is the context in which we are painting the canvas. It's used across the organizations. It has a high risk value delivery life cycle. It is goal driven and it's always enterprise aware. Discipline Agile describes how to effectively combine strategies from your existing methodologies. If you're using Scrum, Agile modeling, extreme programming, Kanban, SAFe, you name it. It's we ensure Discipline Agile ensures that it tailors, its way of working in a scalable and very customer-oriented manner, and helps you to understand what is the way of working forward. Now, Disciplined Agile became part of PMI family in 2019. As we said, it provides guidance to choose your way of working in a context sensitive manner. Now, Disciplined Agile also provides a solid foundation for business agility by showing how various activities like solution delivery, enterprise architecture, portfolio management, security, finance, and not alone software development uh, works together in a cohesive manner to provide agility to the organization. Now, Disciplined Agile is a toolkit of agile strategies. It complements much known frameworks like Scrum or SAFe. So the true business agility comes from freedom, not from frameworks. This is what Disciplined Agile believes in. Like you might be having a framework or you will embark upon a framework, but then your freedom is curtailed in one way or the other. And Disciplined Agile comes and helps you to choose your way of working and makes you agile. Now, we see Agile has devolved into a lot of chaos. There are so many prescriptions, so many practices available, and there are significant overlaps, conflicting advices, different consulting um, initiatives have different way of working, and there used to be there was required a toolkit which would cement all this together to achieve the much required agility. Now the best way of working is to understand what is your team, what is the context of your team, and what is the context of the organization. Like there was a term coined of late called framework prism. Like when you get onboarded into a framework, prescriptive framework, you are in a framework prison. Like you become unyielded, and the growth expectation becomes limited because business agility comes from freedom. Agility requires freedom and not framework. That's where uh, disciplined agile comes handy. It's a tool that harnesses hundreds of agile practices to guide you in the best way moving forward for your team and for your organization. Now, genesis of disciplined agile was in IBM. Disciplined agile originally uh, was born in IBM Rational Initiative. It was it was an effort led by Scott Ambler and Mark Kleins. And this effort culminated over a period of time into a book called Disciplined Agile Delivery and the Practitioner's Guide called Agile Software Delivery, which came to public in 2012. And then it evolved into a comprehensive agile guideline called Disciplined Agile Toolkit. Now, Disciplined Agile is nothing but an umbrella of overall agile um, practices available. Now, Disciplined Agile makes agile landscape what to use, when to use, in what context, what should be the team side, what are the different options available, how can you pick and choose, how can you go back and reframe, and this is how it enables team to choose their way of working. Now, why do we need disciplined agiles? We have lots of prescriptions around, so why would we go for disciplined agile? Disciplined agile supports a range of complexities, faced by your team. not just team size, but the complexity of the team. Disciplined Agile is agnostic. It's a toolkit. You can have any choices that you can tailor to meet your requirements and later evolve and then put that into your organizational practice. Now, Disciplined Agile also enables you to choose to increase your rate of process improvement because it is agnostic. It's not restricted to the ideas of a single method like you have or a single paradigm. It provides you with multiple choices, provides you with lightweight advice for you to use, for you to choose what techniques you would use in an appropriate manner to get your way of working. Also, Disciplined Agile supports all types of teams. It's not only for software. Like against enterprise, any functional area can be addressed using Disciplined Agile. And one of the best things in Disciplined Agile is consistent governance. It has governance built in across disparate teams. The DA toolkit builds lean governance strategy into its process blades. We'll see what a process blade is, and it has an overarching enterprise process blade called governance process blade. So it has a process blade, which is called governance, which we see wanting in other prescriptions which are available. Now, and disciplined agile is the foundation of business agility. That's why we use disciplined agile. Now, let's take an analogy of scaling a mountain. Now, you have many base camps when you go and want to scale a peak. So you cannot take the route available that was provided during the last scaling summit. Like if somebody has scaled the mountain using a specific route, it might not be available tomorrow because of weather conditions, because of different dynamics. That's why these peaks have base camps wherein the guides or the Sherpas maneuver across and see what is best. They choose which path is best, and it might be a different path altogether. In one engagement there might be multiple paths, and it's a guided approach which they provide. Same is the case with disciplined agile. It handholds you. It's not a prescription wherein you deploy and then you have a manual, you have a methodology, ins and out process flows. It provides you a guided approach. It gives you enough leverage to choose, pick and choose, and create your practices. Now, the basic philosophy of disciplined agile is start where you are. You might be engrossed or entangled in any of the prescription. So, disciplined agile does not mandate starting from scratch. Start where you are, leverage what you have, do the best that you can do in the given situation, and always try to get better over a period of time because there are choices available. Now, PMI now offers both type of project management areas. Like you have traditional project management, PMBOK guide. It also has agile content, agile, a small booklet of agile, and then there is disciplined agile guidance on risk management and governance. Now, PMI's intention is not to take away um, the agile content from traditional project management, and because you have large scale capital projects where you would need traditional project management, and there you need some bit of agile for designing or some other aspects. So there is an overlap between disciplined agile and traditional project management, and specifically in the risk management and governance guidance. Now you might be also wondering, since PMI has PMI ACP, which is Agile Certified Professional Certification, what happens to that? That is retained because ACP provides a visibility of an individual's understanding of different agile practices and his rigor and his experience in understanding what agile is. And the people who are already ACP, if they want to go on disciplined agile track, they will get compensated based on their certification. And we can talk about that later on. Now, it's time to up the game using disciplined agile. Like, why do we do that? Because organizations are very of proprietary. You have proprietary systems, very inflexible methods. It requires lots of training, lots of consulting approach. It starts with a small bubble, then it balloons and becomes unyieldy, difficult to maneuver. And the agile industry has become very complex because it has become fragmented over the last 20 years. With lack of leadership, there are a lot of questionable certifications available, and there are lots of uncertified professionals talking the same language. Oh, it was the right time that PMI came in and took over DA to bring a professional approach to mindful and bespoke agile, because PMI's credibility in the project management landscape is second to none. So they could see the gap that the traditional or the waterfall project management, which was bespoke PMBOK, was not able to address the agile landscape. And then they came with this professional approach. It took them some time to understand which way to go, and finally they could see synergies between PMI's um, practices, PMI's policies, and then with disciplined agile, the way it provides leveraging capabilities to leverage upon existing structures. Now, uh, we'll, I'll give you an overview of disciplined agile, a very brief view of disciplined agile overview. And if there are any questions, you can post your questions on the chat box and I will try to answer them as closely as possible. Now, PMI is described in disciplined agile is described in four views. We have four major views. The first view is mindset. Now, you ought to agile, we always say, an agile manifesto also always says agile is a mindset. You need to think agile before being agile. It has to be a mindset. You ought to know the principles and guidelines. Then people, there are roles and responsibilities which are unique to each team. Team structures might be local, they might be dis- dispersed across the globe. Then the third view is flow. It talks about life cycles, workflows. How do we encash on the existing life cycles or existing prescriptive life cycles? How do we um, make them more yieldy in terms of creating and deriving value for the organization? And fourth view is practices, where it talks about goal diagrams to pick and choose. It gives you capability, flexibility to pick and choose from different goals, which are in sync with your requirements, with client requirements. We'll briefly go through each of these and see how do we understand the mindset concept and the practices flow and people concept. Now, mindset, it builds on the foundation of agile and lean, because uh, disciplined agile is built on the foundations of agile and lean. The mindset is created and it is encapsulated in 7 core agile principles that guide organizations to be more adaptable, to be more effective. The 7 principles are: delight customers, be awesome, pragmatism, context counts, choice is good, optimize flow, and enterprise awareness. Now, to be disciplined means to do things that you are good for you, things that usually require hard work and a lot of perseverance. It requires discipline to regularly delight your customers, to regularly co-create value with customers, to regularly interface with customers. It requires discipline for teams to become awesome. It requires discipline for leaders to ensure that their people have a safe environment to work in. It again requires discipline to recognize that you tailor your approach for the context you are facing and to evolve the approach as the solution demands. It requires discipline to recognize that you are part of a larger organization and that you should do best in your capacity and not for your own team, but for the enterprise at large. It again requires discipline to evolve and optimize your workflows. It requires discipline in every now and then, in every step. That's why we say it's a disciplined agile toolkit, because we ought to be disciplined, know what is the context we are working in, what is the canvas we're painting, and what does it need from us to delight the customers, and how do we become enterprise aware, how do we know holistically the entire enterprise, and how do we pick good choices that optimizes our workflow and provide pragmatism. Now, second view is people. The discipline agile provides any given person a specific role to help adapt to truly practicing environment. In the agile toolkit, there isn't a perfect match between traditional roles and discipline agile roles. Like, you are free to choose your roles uh, in terms of way of working. The strategy continues to change, and people must change as well because of the dynamics of the organization. I'll give a simple example. Like, yeah, our organization is a complex adaptive system. Like, teams of teams overlapping, we overlap with enterprise, we overlap with cross-functional teams. There are lots of communication channels, and it is really very challenging and overwhelming to communicate and to find out uh, what is required and what is not required, find out elements of waste which you can ignore, find out what derives value. So for this, a cohesive team structure is very important. An organization is collection of interacting teams. Every team has its own way of working. They can create their own way of working, which is the wow. Now teams learn and evolve over times. Now there will be different roles available in a disciplined agile. Like, you have team leads, you have lean scrum master, you have a project manager in agile, right? A specialized lead manager, product owner, team member, architecture owner from a governance perspective. Then you have enterprise roles, CFO, people management, procurement, portfolio, data, because we say it's enterprise awareness, right? We not only uh, focus on software work stream, software development and delivery. It's an enterprise awareness. We need to know exactly what is happening across so that we can provide a holistic wow for the organization. There might be single teams that provide incremental value, which is required for the product. There might be multiple single teams, uh, ad hoc or permanent. There might be team of teams. There might be feature teams who are responsible for creating features. There might be component teams who create a component or part of the solution, which is finally aggregated or consumed by the whole teams. Now, the third view is the flow view, which is very important. Now, disciplined agile streamlines processes for business agility. Now, it's broken down into four layers. Like, you have disciplined agile delivery, which we call as DAD. It looks at all aspects of delivery in a streamlined manner. Then we have disciplined DevOps, which focuses on streamlining IT solutions and operations. Then we have disciplined agile IT. It addresses how to apply agile and lean strategies across the enterprise. And then we have disciplined agile uh, enterprise, which allows organizations to respond effectively to changes in the marketplace through an organizational culture which facilitates change. Now, these are multiple life cycles that disciplined agile can leverage upon. It supports multiple life cycles. For example, for solution delivery, for example, you can see Scrum. Scrum can be very effective agile approach, but in some situations where priorities are changing daily, Lean may be a better approach. You can switch to Lean. If you think this is complicated, then you choose your WoW and based on your approach, you're using Scrum or Safe, you can pick and choose your process goals, and then you would call it a predictive kind of life cycle, which grows and evolves over a period of time. Here's an example depiction of these life cycles. You have a program life cycle which scales for teams of teams. You have an exploratory life cycle, which is a lean startup life cycle, and all these life cycles um, are created using the toolkit. There's no prescription based in these life cycles. These are your these are your life cycles, available prescriptions, or if you're choosing your way of working, you understand what meets your requirement, what meets your contextual requirement, and what kind of value and where you touch base with customers, what are the value touch points, and then that will define what is the kind of life cycle you will adopt. Now, practices are this is where the game is, the real game is. It allows the disciplined agile toolkit to different scales of agile framework. It means you have lots of available strategies in the framework. It distinguishes from an agile scaling, which is at a team level to an organization level. You can pick and choose your strategies, you can pick and choose your goals, and to create WoW, and you have multiple options, and you can even create a pilot to see whether this is workable or not. And it's quite flexible. Like for example, here, let's say we want to explore scope. You have options like level of details of scope document. Then you have options like outcome driven requirements, detailed specification. Is there a model available? The same is the case with explores usage, explore the domain, explore processes. So all these functions that you want to delve into and see what should I pick and choose to create memo. Now, let's say, for example, your team is having problems identifying how people will use their solution because they don't have access to actual end user. There's no end user at that point in time. The team lead will say, hey, why don't we look up potential options in DA Toolkit and see what we can try? So the team looks at the explore scope, goal diagram, and discovers there are more options for exploring than writing user stories. Then they look up into the details and choose your WoW book and learn about the personas to create the table. They identify the personas and the likely options for addressing their problem. And this is how personas are identified here. Right? Persona detailed description of fictional people who fill roles as a stakeholder of the solution. And what is the trade-off? Used as a technique to build empathy for users, useful when we don't have access to actual users, can be used as an excuse not to work with actual users. So you can just leverage upon these multiple options and choose your wow. There are many ways to explore how people will work with disciplined agile. You have options. For example, you can see for Epic, there are options, persona, unified model, UML, there are options, usage scenarios. Each option has trade-offs. The trade-offs provide you the flexibility of choosing the option in a very meaningful way. This is again the reference to the personas, and you can see the user story and user story map is bolded and Epic is bolded. So these are the ones which have been picked for this scenario. Sorry, believe okay. Now, disciplined agile toolkit. How is the toolkit arranged? We want to know this toolkit, since it's not prescriptive, it's not a methodology. How is the toolkit created? How it's arranged? What kind of visibility does it provide? Like the disciplined agile toolkit has a foundation layer to start with. The foundation area is where you start. It provides you guidance for aspects of disciplined agile that embody the four views that we have already uh, talked about, which is mindset, flow, people, and practices. The disciplined agile toolkit is so arranged that you can find information very easily. You have mindset view, principles, promises, and guidelines. Uh, it it provides you a disciplined view of principles, peoples, and guidelines, and how to describe them from a mindset perspective. Then the center three describe the flow view. It's here where most of the significant differentiators with disciplined agile are available because you have multiple life cycles to choose from. There are options for agile based life cycles, lean based life cycles, as well as serial based life cycles. Now, the next two foundation areas are views, roles, and responsibilities, which is what we say a way of working. Wow! And finally, the foundation area is where the practices and teams they select their way of working, and then graduate to the next layer, which is the process blade layer. Now, the process blade layer is nothing but these are containers of guidance, such as which strategies to choose from, which practice to choose from, and which workflow to choose from. So I'll show a different representation of this pictorial representation. You can see discipline agile uh, from a DevOps process blade perspective. You have discipline agile IT operations. Now security, data management, release management, and the next layer is the value stream layer, which is in violet, which is colored violet. Now, value streams begin and end with the customer. It's where you co-create value. Like most organizations will typically provide multiple value streams. Discipline Agile has a value stream layer which maps with the value stream of the client. Now it's here where you see the product management and portfolio and program management holistically seeing, you can see a larger view, a holistic view of the organization. Now, the last layer is focused on organizational culture. It's the organizational culture that's more important, an enabling factor in achieving business agility. And that's where we say we need to understand what is the context and we need to be enterprise aware. Now, disciplined agile lean governance is has three different transitions. Like it starts with inception, and then you have a construction phase, and there's a transition phase. Now you will have multiple milestones available, and you can ask fundamental questions like, for example, a milestone stakeholder vision. Do stakeholders agree with your strategy? uh, Proven architecture. Can you build this? Do we have the capability? Are we aware of the context? Are we aware of the enterprise? Continued viability. Does the effort still make sense? If not, then go back and choose a different perspective because we have choices available. Sufficient functionality. Does it make sense to release the current solution? Is it fit for purpose for the client? Production ready, is the solution working, will the solution work in production, and how do we delight customers, how do we create that wow feeling and delight customers. Now life cycles of discipline agile, they support a common set of risk based lightweight measures milestones. It provides senior leadership visibility into key aspects of what the team is doing and entry points for them to provide guidance at each phase, like inception, construction, transition. Like these common milestones are one aspect of how governance is baked into discipline agile, which is wanted in the other prescriptions, which is wanted in prescriptions like SAFe and Scrum. Now, choosing wow. Now we need to. This is what discipline agile is always embarking upon. Like way of working. How will you work? In what context? And how do you delight customers? Which options you choose? What is the strategy that you are to undertake? Now we talk about frameworks. We know that frameworks are not silver bullets. They are not panacea for all the issues that are available. Let's say, what if my staff is not sufficiently skilled? It takes, it's overwhelming to understand midstream that I don't have particular skill available to undertake this framework. Now, what if the prescriptive advice does not suit my organization's context? because we live in a volatile environment. The context might change. What if the prescription does not suit? What to do? Uh, Now, don't we need better approach than simply copying someone else's approach? Because one size does not fit all. So we need to understand that this is where discipline agile comes handy. It gives lots of options available, and you can choose your way of working. Omar, do we have time? Okay, I'll just scrape through these slides to show you agile frameworks.
5 minutes, thereabout.
Okay, okay. Now, see, these are we talk about learning code and agile frameworks, like frameworks which are available, not the method or not the toolkit that discipline agile talks about. If you plot the time against effectiveness, you see the learning curve starts very initially. It starts as a trough, and then it gets better over a period of time. And then there are limitations because we are in a method prism. We are using a prescriptive framework. Now, from a source of Rife D from quantitative analysis paper, which was published in 2017, like agile methods, we say 7 to 12% are more productive on average than scaling frameworks. Then how do we provide guidance in terms of when there is a plateau in an organization using a stifled kind of framework where organization hits a roadblock? So here comes the panacea, here comes the choice, right? It is choose your vow. Like success doesn't come from adopting a prescriptive framework like Scrum or SAFe. Although it may be a good start, but true business agility, we need to choose our vow, bespoke agile, and optimize our unique situations. Now let's take an example of Kaizen quickly. I'll go through this. Kaizen loops, they improve via experiments. We identify problem and assess effectiveness, adopt what works, and we abandon what doesn't work if it's a waste, and then we share our learnings. So we do plan, do study, act, and sort of Deming principle, and then we see the effectiveness over a period of time. And then when we choose agile, the perspective changes because we provide guided continuous improvement. Like some experiments will fail, you learn something, but it's still a failure. So we believe that we acknowledge failing fast is fine, but we believe succeeding earlier is better. It's if we get better at this, we succeed more often and we improve faster. We can do this. We can identify problems. We have access to experienced agile coach, but they are expensive and hard to find. So we can do this if we have access to process knowledge base like Disciplined Agile Toolkit, where you don't have to worry about availability of a consultant or a coach all the time. Now, guided continuous improvement, it what makes an organization more agile than continuous improvement. This is the guided handhold approach which these when we talked about analogy of scaling a mountain, these expert Sherpas provide. They tell you exactly which route to take, when to take, what's the best way to go forward, where to stop and where not. And again, as we talked about Ever Jacobson's term, which was coined in 2017, like Prism method prism. So when you adopt a prescriptive method, you are in a prism, right? What now agile discipline agile provides a leverage of guided continuous improvement. Like you can start where you are, no matter which prescription you are using. You do the best in the current situation that you face, and you can always strive to get better. And you can see a disciplined agile leveraging almost all the known frameworks which are available. And disciplined agile, one of the things which is very, very close, which we should really understand from a disciplined agile perspective is the choices, the choices which are available. It is the greatest strength and value proposition of disciplined agile. It gives you a platform to choose your way of working, to delight your customers and to create value. So these are again a chaos. This is agile chaos, what is available today. Now you again need a guided approach to go and scale the mountain. Now, from a agile certifications perspective, disciplined agile has got it starts with DASM, which is Disciplined Agile Scrum Master. You don't need any prerequisite for this. It's a 2 days training, and you can write the exam. We have 30 days period to write your exam. The next layer is DASSM, which is Disciplined Agile Senior Scrum Master. You ought to have 2 years of agile experience. It's again a 2 days training, and it culminates with an exam. Then you have DAVSC, which is the value stream consultant and value stream coaches. So both of them, they require 3 years of agile experience, and they are a step after DASSM. And Agile ACP, which is one of the flagship initiatives of PMI, is still retained. It's not part of disciplined agile, but it's still retained because it demonstrates your applied experience on an agile team. In summary, I would say disciplined agile is very rich, comprehensive, and well organized toolkit of strategies to help your organizations be more successful with agile. It provides a disciplined, agnostic, and professional enterprise approach to agile. It also understands what your options could be, what could you do, and what you could choose, and which one is the best pick for in different contexts, and that can lead to better decisions and delight your customers. And overarching, these 7 principles help us to be better, because we believe that better decisions lead to better outcomes. Thank you for your thank you for providing your attention for this journey of the webinar. And if you have any questions, please, I will see the Q&A tab if there are any questions. Alumide, if there are any questions, can you speak them out, please?
Yeah, I can see just one question here.
Okay.
Which is what is the difference between agile project management and agile way of working in general?
Right.
How to develop sorry, let me get back to that. How to develop agile thinking and be agile from all aspects. That's 2. Then we will agile PM learning and certifications help to be agile in all work that we do. So 3 questions in one. Did you get that?
Yeah, I did get that. See,
Okay.
agile is a mindset. As we said, agile is a mindset. You need to understand the broader perspective of agile from an organizational context. Like when I have been a project management. I have used a Waterfall, a traditional project management. I am both Prince2 and PMI certified, and I have used that. And I have been able to deploy a few successful PMOs around. So I understand the kind of rigor which is there in traditional project management, and the kind of discipline. It is, of course, disciplined, especially for large scale capital projects, and the kind of governance PMO provides. Uh, Now, when we see the changing environment, the disruptions that are happening in every industry, and then companies are now relegated to creating the short-term strategies. We call as adaptable strategies. So strategies are short-term, which means they have short-term programs, short-term projects, and short-term portfolios to make sure that they do not miss the bus, because who knows, a small incumbent will come and disrupt the entire industry. For example, what happened with Nokia, and what happened with BlackBerry. They could never dream of going out of business, being market leaders. So this is the agile way of mindset, agile way of understanding. And this how you will inculcate this mindset. You need to read about Agile. There are loads of meaningful videos, meaningful books available on internet, free of charge. And you need to, if you have an opportunity to work in an agile team in any aspect, in any capacity, I would suggest do it. Even if you need to volunteer, I would suggest that's how you will learn the nuances and ins and out of agile and develop that mindset. You might be agile in your, in your working, in your daily routines, but if you're not developed that mindset, you will definitely hit a roadblock down the line. Yes,
Okay.
Solomon.
Yeah. There's another question here. Sorry, I'll get back to that. Yeah. Is it possible with DA to mix incompatible tools because there's just too many choices to build on to build your WoW? Is it possible with Disciplined Agile to mix incompatible tools because there's just too many choices to build your WoW?
Okay.
Wow.
Now, incompatibility will arise if we are pitching a framework against a framework, because if you are using, say, PMI's framework and Prince2 methodology in a normal traditional project, definitely it will be conflicting, because there are two different mindsets, two different ways of working. Yes, of course, it will happen if you're using Scrum and you try to use safe principles and approach. It will definitely be a roadblock. But no, when you use disciplined agile, it is it's the value is derived by taking away the conflicts, right? It comes and sees what is fit for purpose, what you need to delight your customers, whatever framework or prescription you have already. It comes and it will show you, it will give you multiple options wherein you can leverage your expertise, the customers landscape, what customer exactly wants, what is the pipeline in terms of products and services customer wants to create, and how to engage with different um, stakeholders. Every touch point you have options. Like there's no conflicting say perspective when it comes to DA, because it's a toolkit. You're not conflicting with any other way of working. You choose your way of working based on what you have. You might be having Scrum, you might be having SAFe, and you can come and start where you are because it avoids conflict. You start where you are. You don't go and say, okay, take out Scrum, I want to deploy disciplined agile, take out SAFe. No, it leverages those frameworks, those perspectives to provide you the wow.
Okay. Sorry, we have questions here. This person is asking for ACP, for ACP certified. People also have to take 2 days training for DA's certificates.
Yes, if you had like I have seen some of my colleagues who were ACP, and before January 2021, PMI had given an option for all ACPs to graduate to DASM. Before DASM, there was PMI had DALSM, which was Disciplined Agile Lean Scrum Master. If you are a PMI ACP certified and you do the 2 days training, you don't write the exam and you graduate to DALSM. And finally, by January 2021, you would be a DASM, which is Disciplined Agile Scrum Master. Now, post January 2021, you have ACP. It's a very good certification that you have really achieved. It's not easy, and for any discipline agile certification, you need to do a 2 days training and you need to write the exam within 30 days of the training.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Is Agile and Disciplined Agile used in the construction industry? Any examples, projects, organizations implementing such?
Yes, there are. As we said, it is the it encapsulates the entire enterprise. We say enterprise awareness means it takes touch bases upon each of the functional areas of an enterprise. Out of all the process blades, very few process blades talk about software in disciplined agile. There are process blades options for all kinds of industries. And if you can share your email with Olimide, I will provide you few case studies wherein disciplined agile was used by US, I believe it was Lockheed for their new generation cockpits for warfare aeroplanes, and also um, there is some Scandinavian country they have used it in their naval fleets. So if you can just provide your email, I can send you those case studies.
Okay, thank you. Another question: should Agile replace Waterfall, um, or they can coexist? Coexist.
As per industry experts, as per the stalwarts in the industry, thinkers of project management landscape, the best approach is to use a hybrid, approach, because there are instances where agile, because for agile you need to create that mindset. It's more of a change management in the mindset of the organization. If you have been using traditional project management for years now, it's very difficult to shift at a go. So the best approach is to do a hybrid approach and see where waterfall will be fit for purpose, and how much agile can you incorporate into your organization. Then going down the line, you might find, say, agile, your way of working is leaning more towards agile, less towards waterfall, and vice versa. It's all depends upon the context and depends upon the case. Every case is unique. Agile will not replace waterfall and vice versa. So they are there to coexist.
Okay, thank you. There's a couple of questions more. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. No problem.
How much of discipline agile um, can be used in construction projects?
Yes, I said yes of discipline
How
agile.
much? Okay, I think you addressed that earlier on. Yeah, and from a certification perspective, should we take both ACP and DA, or DA is enough?
See, DA ACP will provide you the length and breadth of all the other agile frameworks which are available. It talks about Scrum, it talks about Lean, it talks about extreme programming, FDD, ADSM. While as discipline agile is unique in terms of a toolkit, ACP will give you the leverage to understand different frameworks of agile, how they are applied, how they work, what it requires, what are the building blocks of those um, methodologies, while as DA will provide you the toolkit of leveraging those methodologies. So I would suggest both, if you plan to uh, create your if you want to grow in the agile landscape, both are required. Yes, ACP should be followed by DA. From from an aspirant perspective, I would say start with DA, because it's a 2 days training, and uh, you can write your exam within 30 days, whereas ACP, you need to have, I believe, if you do DASM, you don't need to have prerequisites. For ACP, you need to have some hours, you need to showcase some hours of agile experience. If you have that, go ahead and start with that. And to be a DASM, you don't need any prerequisites. You can just go for 2 days training and write the exam.
Wow, thank you very much, Abdul. I think that's how far we can go today. There are no more questions here.
Okay.
For for us asking about the slides, the case studies, we'll be sending those to you via email. Abdul just said that he's going to share that with us, so we'll forward that to everyone with the presentation. So
Okay,
not to
here is,
worry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the last slide. That if you can take a screenshot of this, you can just email me or email, because I am the principal consultant of ProThoughts. ProThoughts is a premier ATP partner of PMI. They were the first ones who uh, came up with the disciplined agile way of working. So you can either email them, email me, copy me. I have my UAE number here. And then whatever questions you have, we're very glad to help you in your journey and train you on disciplined agile.
Okay, that's good. Okay, thank you, Abdul, today for
Thank you, Adamad.
this wonderful webinar. And thank you to all our participants for coming. It's been a wonderful time, and I believe we've all learned something today, and we've improved our knowledge about disciplined agile, because I've learned a lot. I know every one of us have learned. So concerning the resources, we'll be sending that to your email afterwards. So I want to thank you all for coming, and thank you, Abdul, once again. And we hope to see you some other time. So bye for now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Adamad. Thank you, everyone. You guys have your nice day ahead, nice evening, wherever, which part of globe you are. Thank you very much. Okay, so we had 70 attendees. Huh?
We have